Welcome to class. Today it's about module 7, and in module 7 we're going to deal with problem solving and decision making. This is a crucial module which is really helpful for supervisors. In terms of introduction, let's say management problem solving and decision takes place continuously and in all area of enterprise, irrespective of differences in status, management training, experience, and even lifestyle of individual managers. So everyone always facing problems where it is working. And because of the problems which you are facing with, you have to solve them. Now, how do you solve them? And through the process of solving the problem, there is a step where you have to take or to make decisions. So this is the purpose of this module. Definition of decision making: an unavoidable rational process by which a specific plan chosen to solve a particular problem or serve a situation, taking the potential effect on enterprise activities into account on one end and establish enterprise principles on the other. So you see that being a supervisor, sorry, being a supervisor, you really need to be able to sort out the situations that you are facing as difficulties or challenges or the problems that can be created by the people working with you. Kinds of decisions. Programmed decision. So a decision can be programmed. We are going to see it. Routine decisions are part of each manager's daily task. These decisions are repeated and known as program decisions made on the basis of established and systematic procedures. There are some decisions that we are making every day by knowing the policies, knowing the regulations, the rules, the procedures. When we are facing a challenge which is really framed into this aspect of problems, so it's easier. I mean, this aspect of structure of our company is easy to make decision because of the knowledge that you have of how we progress with our daily task. Management decision making, which is done in accordance with the enterprise policy, procedures, and rules and program, because predetermined guidelines regarding repeated situations are followed and alternatives are thus limited or eliminated. So this is based on the experience being a supervisor for a while in the company. You know the company, so if there is a problem, a situation, a routine, something that is repeated, you know already how, based on experience, you sort out the situation, so it's easy again to make decision for this particular problem that we call program decision. Goals, standard, procedures, method, rules, and policy are typically examples of program decision. Goals, remember we said goals is always about long term, are the ultimate result for which managers strive, because we are seeing in 3 years or 5 years. A standard is a criterion or yardstick that serves as a basis for comparison. They can be expressed qualitatively or quantitatively. So by knowing a standard, we can make decisions. Procedures are a series of related consecutive steps that must be followed in order to perform a task. So if there is a problem in terms of procedure, it's easier to make decisions because we know the sequences of the activities in this procedure. A method is a step in a procedure. Rules are explicit prescriptions of what people in the enterprise may or may not do. So rules can also help us to make decisions. Policy is a broad guideline for programmed management decision making. So what about unprogrammed decisions? When something is new the first time you are facing the situation, how can you make decision? How can you sort out this problem because it's the first time that you are facing it? Unprogrammed decisions are made when a problem or situation does not occur in the same way as previously. So in terms of your experience, you've never faced a such situation. This type of decision that requires a creative approach by managers because of policy, procedures, or rule has to be developed. So you see, this problem is new. Sometimes it can even help us to develop something also new, to add something to our policy, to have something new to our procedures, to have something new to our rules. As the managers move higher up in management hierarchy, greater demand in terms of unprogrammed decisions are made. We have a promotion. You're moving from a supervisor, now you are a manager. And because you're new in this new position, so you're facing situation which will be new to you. Now, how are you going to face them? How are you going to sort them out? Then you need unprogrammed decisions. The occurrence of unprogrammed decision in the form of programmed and budget is common. A program is a plan or plans of action to realize a set of objectives. A budget is an unprogrammed decision that extends over a specific period and indicates the ways in which capital goods, labor, raw material, and material are due to be spent. So this, you see, can be something new because of your promotion. Now you are facing that you have, for instance, to deal with a budget for things that you haven't mastered yet. So how are you going to deal with? You are going to face some new plans. How are you going to set the objectives for these new plans? So this is based on or related to unprogrammed decisions. Programmed and unprogrammed decisions comparison. Let's say decisions often cannot be classified as purely programmed or unprogrammed. A decision will, depending on specific circumstantial factors, tend to be either more programmed or more unprogrammed. Let's see in this table here. We have three columns. The first one heading is kind of problem. The second heading is program decision, and the third is unprogrammed decision. So it's like a summary of what we have discussed so far. Then let's start with kind of problem. So if, for instance, you are dealing with a program decision, so what type of situation you see? Something which is regular, repeated, routine, reasonable certainty, affecting cause and effect. You see, this is already in our experience, in our daily task, in our daily life, into our workplace. So it can be easily to be classified as terms of programmed decision. Now, unprogrammed decision, something is strange. It's my first time I'm facing it. It's not structured, unstructured, not recurrent, reasonably uncertainty affecting cause and effect. I don't have any clue on this situation. So you can see that I'm facing uncertainty. In terms of procedure, for program decision, depends on procedures and rules. As we said it already, we have policies, we have rules, and so on. Can help us to make decision, what we call program decision. But need, in terms of program decision, the procedure, need for creativity, because this is new. Intuition as a manager, I need intuition because this is new. I haven't faced this. I haven't thought out this type of situation, and problem solving ability. Now you see, because that you have promotion. Now you are facing new problems related to the new position. They give us an example for program decision. You have periodic reordering of stock, for instance. and unprogrammed decision, a product or market diversification. There is something new as a product, there is something new in your market. So what are you going to do with this? Because it's new. So you need creativity. You need problem solving ability. But you'll see they'll give us some method which are going to help us if you are facing with unprogrammed decision. Certainty, risk, and uncertainty. Remember, certainty, you are okay with it. Uncertainty, you are really shivering. And when it comes to risk, no one likes risk because you know when you are working in a company, risk you are seeing yourself being fired. But risk can make you hero in a company if you are able to take that risk. Certainty. In a situation of absolute certainty, the decision maker knows exactly what is going to happen in the future and what the result of the decision will be, because this is something recurring, something that has happened before. You have experience, you have knowledge, so it's you are certain of what you are going to do. A decision under condition of certainty is in fact a list of possible results for each alternative and therefore a choice of the best result. How do you create all this scenario of these approaches when you are making decision? Because you have already experienced that year we had this situation, this is what we did. Last month we have the same situation, this is what we did. So now we are facing the same situation, what can we do? So this is really certainty of what you are about to do as making decision. Scientific methods can help to make decisions such as linear programming and break-even analysis. So we'll see this type of method. That I say in a program decision, there are methods, scientific methods which can help us to sort those situations. Uncertainty. In conditions of uncertainty, little information is available. You know nothing. Thank God, internet is there, Google is there, Google Scholar is there. We have many websites where you can go and do your research, get informed, and find a solution, make decision. Decision maker I can in no way determine the probability of future events. So it's impossible because how are you going to have the likelihood in from ignorance in the future? So it's impossible. You need really to sort out this by doing your own research. Risk. Risk is a condition between complete certainty and uncertainty. Under conditions of uncertainty, various statistical and probability techniques are used in the decision making. You see, we have some methods which can help you to overcome fear of risk. Fundamental characteristics of risk is that decision makers have just enough information about the results of each alternative at their disposal to estimate the probability of the result if the alternative is applied. That is the problem. The problem of risk is the outcome. You are saying if I use the resources of the company and the result is negative, I'm in trouble because it's a big loss. So you can't make a decision when you're going to use the resources of the company and not getting what is required by the company. You are in trouble. Rational decision making process. Now we're going to see some type of method which are going to help us, especially when you are dealing with unprogrammed decision. So we'll have time to do our research to inform to get knowledge before we make a decision. Manager daily find themselves in position where decisions have to be made. The treatment of this situation differs from manager to manager and from situation to situation. You see, it depends where you're working and the situation you are facing for you to make a decision. In the treatment of such problems or situation, managers often follow approaches that have worked on previous occasions in the hope that they will be successful again. Yeah, if something is recurring, yes, you can use the same approaches and work out and you see, you can predict what can be the result of the situation you are facing. Many managers use the intuition, which is good and bad, and so-called sound judgment, which can be good and bad, while others make use of the more expert advice or specialists. Remember, there are people in other companies, unless if you don't want to uh, communicate the situation that are going in your company, there are advice of people, there are experts in advice or specialists that can help you in your own uh, uh, in your own situation. So this now is yourself to make sure that you are able to sort out this in terms of discretion, your own discretion. Nevertheless, decision makers who follow a rational, intelligent, and logically systematic approach have better chance of making high quality decision than others. So this, you see, this is the method that we need. Rational, intelligent, logically systematic approach can help you. Now, how are you going to acquire this if you don't do your own research or you don't want to further your education? This is the rational decision making process. Step one, analyze the situation. How do you analyze the situation? Awareness of the problem and situation, identify and define the problem situation, gather information, establish the goal, diagnose the causes. You have to sit down and going through these processes, writing down your findings. Step two, generate alternatives. You will have all the information. Now you have to generate alternatives. Step three, evaluate and choose the best alternative. Evaluate all the alternatives, all the approaches. Now select the best alternative. That you have to see certainty, uncertainty, and risk. If it's something that you know, certainty, yes, it's easy. But if it's uncertainty, so there is risk behind uncertainty. Step four, implement the decision and follow up. Yes, once you start implementing, you're taking action. Now you have to monitor the implementation of your decision so that you see what you are going to get as a result. So that maybe if there is some adjustment, remember, sometimes during monitoring, control is intervening where you see you have a variance or deviations. Then you have to do some necessary adjustment to avoid blunders or negative outcomes. Step one, investigate the situation. Now they are helping us in the rational making decision process. How do we do the investigation in the situation we are facing? Awareness of the problem or situation. If the individual does not realize that a problem or situation exists, nothing can be done to solve or handle the problem or situation. This is acceptance, not denial of the problem. Accept that there is a problem. Without a problem or situation, there is no reason for a decision. Problems and situations usually stem from planning, organizing, activating, leading, and controlling. These are the four functions of a manager. Define the problem or situation. Simply being aware of a problem or situation is not enough reason for making a decision. The specific nature and circumstances of a problem or situation must be known before decision can be made to correct it, because you are busy solving a problem. The identification, the definition of problems and situation is a critical phase in the total decision making process. If you fail to identify and to define the situation, so make sure that your decision won't bring any good for the situation you are facing. Problems or situations should be clearly, correctly, and precisely identified and defined. That's why we need investigations. How do you do the investigations? Gather information. The more applicable, accurate, and reliable the information about circumstances regarding the problem situation, the better the identification and definition of the problem. Information is very important. How accuracy is very important. Reliability is very important of your information. Not everything that is coming through your investigation, you find it reliable. Sufficient, accurate, reliable, and applicable information already gathered during the first step of the decision-making process lead to clearer and more careful formulated problems and situations. So information is very important. Establish the goal. An important aspect of this phase is to decide what part of the problem must be solved and what part should be solved. Diagnose the causes. If the causes are not found, it often happens that symptoms are treated instead of the real problem. You see, investigation is very important. Do not try to face with what you find at the surface. Check what is underground. That way mostly you find the causes, because what you are seeing, they are symptoms, but the main issues are hidden. That I'm talking about underground. Step 2, generate alternative. Before a decision can be made, suitable alternative solutions should be developed for the problem. This is where knowledge, information is very important. Because if you are ignorant, how are you going to develop alternatives? At the same time, the potential result of each alternative should be considered. So you are creating different approaches and you are seeing also the results. The number of alternative solutions to problems is naturally influenced by a few factors. For instance, time available, quality, quantity, accuracy, reliability, relevance of information, importance of decision, analytical abilities of decision makers. We'll see in terms when I'm talking about analytical abilities. Scientific method help us, give us, or empower us in terms of analytical abilities of decision makers. No choice must, however, be made during this step, and no priority given to alternatives. Evaluate and choose the best alternative. This is step 3. Evaluate all alternatives. All alternatives must be compared rather than dealing with the different alternatives separately. Though you have created them separately, you are seeing the result of each and one. Then now compare. Always form a better idea about which alternative will make the biggest contribution to the achievement of enterprise objectives. So keep in mind the objectives of the company. Remember, this is not about you, it's not personal, it's about the company. You are just filling a position, so you are helping the company. The evaluation of different alternatives must be done on the basis of the following 3 steps. The first one, decision makers must note the potential effect of each alternative as carefully as possible, as if the alternative were already chosen and implemented. Secondly, decision makers build in a probability factor into each potential effect. And third, within the enterprise objectives in mind, decision makers must compare the expected result and the particular probabilities of each alternative. So we have different alternatives, but we must be informed how to take next step to get the best alternative as a solution to a problem. The 4 important guidelines to follow for the evaluation of different alternatives. This is very important. No thorough evaluation of the alternative is possible without sufficient relevant information of higher quality. Information, knowledge, very important. Each alternative and also possible result of each applied alternative must be judged under certainty, risk, and uncertainty. We have discussed already these three concepts. Each alternative must be judged against the objectives and the available potential of the enterprise. Remember, we said do not use the resources of the company for you to end up giving a negative product. You are in trouble. Each alternative's value must be determined in respect of how well it will contribute to the achievement of the must and the should. Remember, it's all about the objective of the company. It's not about you. No feelings. Keep in mind the objectives of the company work in the same way. Be always aligned with the objectives of the company. Choose the best alternative. So we are choosing the best alternative related to the objective because we are busy ahead. We are busy focusing on how can we achieve the objectives required by the company. So this is going to help us to choose the best alternative. Yan effective evaluation of the different alternative makes the final decision as a mere formality. An effective evaluation of the different alternatives make the final decision a mere formality. Step 4. Implement the decision and follow up. Implement the decision. A decision is of objectively not value until it has been implemented in order to achieve the objective for which it was initially developed. Control the implementation and make the necessary adjustment. The implementation of decision is too often seen at the end of the decision-making process. Real result must, however, be continually compared with planned objective, and deviation must be identified and corrected. Very important in step 4. Now, limitations in the rational decision-making process. Though we have the scientific method giving us the 4 steps that you can go for us to accomplish a rational decision-making, but always there are limitations which you cannot forget. We need to know them. Limited information. Managers are often inclined to make decisions on the basis of information that is adequate in terms of quality, quantity, accuracy, validity, and reliability. Uncertainty. If you don't have all this, how are you going to make decisions? You are limited. Inability to differentiate between symptoms and real problems and causes. We have discussed already this. An inability or unwillingness to differentiate between symptoms of causes and problems can lead to symptoms being handled instead of causes and problems. So we have to know the difference between these 3: problems, causes, symptoms. Delegation. Opportunities for crisis management are unconsciously created by managers who are unwilling and hesitant to delegate decision-making responsibilities to the lower management levels. People working with you, they may also have experience and they can help you in decision-making. So do not overlook them. Time restrictions. 4 important aspects must be discussed in this regard. Limited time often leads to the decision-making process not being carried out properly or according to the basic steps. Yes, time is very important to gather information, to create alternatives, different approaches, to decide upon, to compare them, to make decisions. Sometimes too much time is spent on the identification and analysis of problems with the direct result that the choice, implementation, and monitoring of decision and neglected. Lack of deadly also causes problem. Time loss between the choice of an alternative and its implementation is usually caused by neglecting to develop budget and statement during the final step in decision-making process. Personal characteristics for effective decision-making. Creativity, which is very important. How do you create approaches? Good managers and innovators who place great emphasis on creativity and resourcefulness. Analytical skill. This skill is the ability to use logical and scientific approaches and techniques in the analysis of problems and opportunities. Knowledge. No effective decision is possible without a thorough knowledge of the enterprise as a whole, the environment, circumstances affecting the specific problem or situation, as well as the decision-making process itself. Conceptual skill. Conceptual skill is defined as the understanding of the functioning of the enterprise as a whole, as well as the mutual relationship between sections within the enterprise. Attitude toward risks. Individuals who avoid risk will formulate objectives differently and will not be introduced and choose alternatives in the same way as risk seekers. Experience. Experienced managers will make better quality decisions because they draw from the previous experiences. Judgment. This is the ability to accurately assess the value of information. It is a combination of common sense, maturity, and ability to reason and experience. Decision-making techniques. Yeah, now we are seeing what are the scientific method to help us if we are facing with uncertainty or risk, not certainty, especially when you're facing with unprogrammed decision. The first one is linear programming, which is a mathematical technique that is used to allocate limited resources optimally. The second one, the break-even analysis, is used to determine how much of a specific product must be manufactured or sold so that the sufficient income can be generated to cover the cost. So this scientific method is based on, based on particular or specific fields where it can be used. The probability theory is based mainly on the reduction of risk. Program evaluation and review technique, PERT, and the critical path method, CPM, are the best known network analysis technique, this especially in civil engineering. This so-called queuing and waiting line is mainly an operational management aid to determine the optimum flow rate by calculating the cost involved in waiting or queuing versus the cost involved in more rapid movement. Now we are going to see, we are talking about decision making based on the managers. Now managers are not working alone, we are working within a team, so we can also have groups and making decision. That's why I'm talking about groups and decision making. Who makes the best decision between individuals and groups? If you are working alone to find a solution to make decision, and if other people also are involved in the same process. Although various individuals can be involved in the decision-making process, the individual manager must ultimately accept final responsibility for a particular decision. see, though you are dealing with your people, you can discuss with a subaltern, subordinate, but finally you have the last say. Manager, manager can also involve colleagues and specialists in the decision-making process. Cooperation in decision-making leads to acceptance of decision by everybody involved in the decision-making process. Group decision-making implies participation, and this kind of decision-making can thus be described as participatory decision making. So each and everyone will be involved. You as a supervisor, even the people working with you, the employees. Delegation of authority, responsibility, and accountability. People will be also involved in decision making. Method to promote group decision making. Brainstorming. Group must frequently propose creative and imaginative solutions to problems within the enterprise or department. Brainstorming stimulates the maximum creation of new ideas, at the same time to prevent the suppression of initiative caused by direct personal contact between group members. Through brainstorming, no idea is ridiculous. Every idea belongs to the group and no idea may be criticized. So we ask everyone to bring his input. Nominal group technique. Independent input are expected from each one. Successful technique of the nominal group. Each member writes down his personal idea about the problem. So each one must have time to think about the situation. Each member shares his idea with other group members. A decision is open about ideas shared by the members. The idea that gives the highest priority is the final decision. The Delphi technique. Concerning Delphi, group members are never physically together during the implementation of the Delphi technique. So him prefer everyone is dealing with situation particularly, not us together in the same room. People must be separate. Characteristic of Delphi technique. The problem is identified and group members are asked for potential solution by means of well-designed questionnaires. Each member completes the first questionnaire anonymously and independently. Results of the first questionnaire are processed at a central point, rewritten and copied. Each member receives a copy of the result. After a thorough study of these results, members are questioned to propose solution using a second questionnaire. The previous two steps are repeated until agreement about the group members is achieved. So people are writing the questionnaire, people are answering the questionnaire, so it goes and goes and goes until, and there's a group there to receive the input of everyone and check and scrutinize, keeping the objective of the company and see what will be the best to give us the solution. Advantages and disadvantages of group decision making. Advantages: pooling of skill and experience take place because we have many people bringing their skills and so on. Cross-pollination between group members lead to mutual intellectual stimulation. Everyone will be involved, everyone has to do its own research. Group decision making stimulates participation by all the group members. Group decision making creates opportunity for specialization. Disadvantages: group decision making is more than consuming than individual decision making. The presence of dominating group members can result in group opposal and other group members not being considered. Differences between group members can lead to group conflict, which must be avoided, but is one of the disadvantages. Okay, it was long, but I tried at least to make it short.